which has continued on with films such as Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Clerks 2, Jay and Silent Bob's super groovy cartoon movie, and continues on tonight with the premiere here at the TCL Chinese Theater for the 8th film in the View Askew universe, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. We are thrilled to be celebrating the upcoming release of Jay and Silent Bob Reboot by placing Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes hand and feet in wet cement. Now, if you'll please welcome our host and ambassador for the TCL Chinese Theater Hand and Footprint Ceremonies, radio icon and host of the nationally syndicated Ellen K Morning Show, the #1 morning show in Los Angeles and the only one led by a woman, please welcome Ellen K.
What an exciting day. Thanks to everyone who came out. Thanks to everyone who heard about it on Coast for coming. Such an exciting day. Who's ready to see Kevin and Jay get down in the wet cement and then be immortalized forever? What a special place to do it too. So I'm so proud and happy to be here today. It's such a warm family event. So we passed around a book to describe Kevin Smith in one word. His daughter Harley says authentic. Jay says smart. Let's see, we have magnificent, cool, svelte, one of a kind, cute Kevin, and then Ben Affleck says genius. So it's my honor to introduce to you Ben Affleck.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, thank you. All right. Thank you, yes, the Bomb and Phantoms. This is the last day I'm going to put up with that Bomb and Phantoms joke. I'm very excited and very honored to be here. I know it's supposed to be about like Kevin and Jay, but keeping with Hollywood tradition, I'd like to make it about me, you know, appropriate. You know, when I came out to LA in the early 90s, I was a struggling actor, and I couldn't even, like, you know... there we go, it's back. So I came out to LA, I was a struggling actor, and I was sort of awkward, big, and goofy looking, and I guess I must have been kind of off-putting because I couldn't even get an audition for like the leading roles of anything. But every time some project showed up, the casting director would be like, they're not interested in you for any of the main parts, but there is a kind of a douchey, unpleasant villain that we think you would be right for. And so I played that part in School Ties. I was the douchey anti-Semite. Dazed and Confused, I was the annoying villain who chased people around with a paddle. And then one director had the singular vision to cast me as the annoying, douchey guy with the suit in Mallrats, for which I will be forever grateful. One of them was the director of the movie. He was a guy who could not stop talking about himself. And the other one was the director's friend, who had only ever acted one time before in a black and white movie called Clerks. And the two of them had a kind of a special relationship that I couldn't quite figure out. They were either brothers or best friends or a surrogate father and a wayward son or possibly husband and wife. You know, they were sweet, but they cursed like sailors, to be honest. In fact, this is a true story. I subsequently did a USO tour and was taken on an aircraft carrier, and the XO said, you know, some of these guys curse like Jay and Silent Bob. So, the off-screen dynamic they had was really kind of adorable because, you know, in the movies, the big one followed the little one around, but in real life, the little one followed the bigger one around all the time. So whether they were working or not, they were kind of always together, like Snoopy and Woodstock by way of Bill and Ted, sort of, or Bert and Ernie by way of Cheech and Chong. They were loyal to each other for whatever reason, and suddenly they were loyal to this guy from Boston who they barely knew, and they became part of their View Askew family. And the little one would say kind of nonsensical things like snoogans and snoochie boochies and call people used guys, and the bigger one would say nonsensical things like, Mallrats gonna make $100 million. It's only off by 98 million. Even more nonsensical, he said, I'm gonna make you the lead of my next movie. And they may say a lot of nonsensical things, but they don't bullshit. And I did get a big role in the director's next movie, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And for a while, I really feel like we were like Scorsese and De Niro. You know, if none of Scorsese and De Niro's movies got critical acclaim, or made any money, or got any awards, and we're all set in New Jersey. So his little friend was kind of our Joe Pesci character, the motor mouth clown who amused everybody, but who you kind of knew was somehow secretly sort of a genius. And we built our careers together while laughing and learning about the movie business. We dreamed our dreams together until a lot of them came true, and it was really the most fun I ever had making movies. Absolutely the least profitable, but the most fun for sure. In fact, you know, I really owe Kevin for starting my own career off as a filmmaker. When I was doing Mallrats, I kept telling him how I was, you know, me and my friend, we wanted to write the script, and you know, I finally got the courage up and asked him to read it. And I flew out of town, I came back, and he pulled me aside and he said, I want you to know, I started reading your script on the toilet. I said, thank you, because I didn't get off until I finished it. Which turns out was Kevin's highest form of praise. But he was very encouraging. The idea that like some guy with no connections and no money and no, in my case, education to speak of, could actually like get a movie made and have something to say and make a contribution. And he's an executive producer on that movie. And my really principal main regret about the Oscars and that whole movie is that on Oscar night I neglected to thank Kevin because I was kind of overwhelmed, and there really would be no Good Will Hunting script, certainly wouldn't have gotten made without him. So I want to take this opportunity to remedy that. Pretend that I'm on the stage at the Oscars and say, thank you, Kevin Smith, very, very much. When I told people, you know, they reached out to me to do their movie, their new movie, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, and you know, they were always there for me, and so I really wanted to be there for them. And 22 years after Chasing Amy, I pretended to be Holden McNeil again. And since Holden McNeil is really just the writer-director with a different name, he essentially asked me to play him. And this is either the cheapest or the most expensive form of therapy on the planet. But we got together and we shot our scene, and it was like finding your favorite old t-shirt in a moving box, and it still fit, you know. After 25 years, these guys still fit. They were like this comfortable, wonderful, familiar t-shirt of American movies. And I think that's kind of fitting, you know, because these guys are sort of like the American dream come true. If the American dream was to talk about comic books and dissect love and analyze Star Wars using every curse word in the planet. When I told people I was going to speak for them today, as they got their handprints in cement at the Chinese theater, the average response was two things. First was, really? And the second one was, good for these guys. And the first response, really, I think, is because when we think of the Chinese theater footprints, we think of larger-than-life Hollywood legends, you know, people like Jack Nicholson or, you know, R2-D2, and the guys from Mallrats, I feel like, are sort of joining that second group, you know what I mean? And good for those guys comes after the, you know, you do the math and you realize that these guys are Hollywood legends now. We don't think of them as such because we've seen them hanging around the same convenience store. You don't think of legends as the guys who sell you weed outside 7-Eleven, and yet that's who they are. You know, legends aren't people you actually know. They're legends, and legends break the mold, and that's what these two have been doing for a quarter of a century, breaking the mold over and over. So it would stand the reason they broke the legend mold too. They couldn't even do that the right way because, you know, they're from New Jersey. Keep the car running. They've been hanging around the Quick Stop for 25 years, but today Jay and Silent Bob start hanging around the TCL Chinese Theater courtyard forever, ensconced in cement with all the other Hollywood legends, right where they belong. I'm really, really grateful to these two guys, and I have to say, I just love them so much. Thank you, and thank you very much.
Hello.
Today is a really big day for me because not one, but two of my dads are being presented with the immense honor of getting their handprints solidified in cement to celebrate their long-lasting impact on all of us. I recently had the pleasure of playing Jay's daughter in Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, and I have had the pleasure of being the other one's daughter my whole life. I'm not going to lie to you, if you had told me that these two would be getting this honor a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have believed you. At the time, I just knew these two weirdos as my dad and my uncle. I knew that they could both make me laugh more than pretty much anyone, and I knew that they were a little more edgy than most people could say about their family, but other than that, I didn't exactly understand why they were different at the time. When I was younger, I was never allowed to watch my dad's films. My mom told me that they were too inappropriate and that I would not want to look my dad in the face if I knew the type of material he was writing. So for the longest time, I didn't watch his films. Then I got older and entered adulthood, and my dad started to become insulted that I hadn't watched his films yet, so I slowly but surely started my journey into the Mewes universe. I first started with Mallrats, then Jay and Silent Bob Straight Back. I remember watching Jay and Silent Bob and secretly thinking to myself, wait, they're beating up people who have said mean shit about them on the internet? This is kind of genius. But it wasn't until August 2nd, 2018 that I fully understood what the fuss was about. I went to Vulgarthon in New Jersey with my dad for his birthday, and that's when I saw Clerks for the first time. My entire life, people have come up to my dad and told him how Clerks has changed their lives and how much the characters of Jay and Silent Bob have meant to them. And it always made me happy that my dad and Jay had made such an impact on them, but I never really understood why until I saw Clerks for the first time. I watched it in a room full of my dad and Jay's biggest fans, and I was able to see how much it meant to each and every one of them firsthand. I saw how inspirational this film was, and I saw how it influenced so many of the films that I've loved my whole life. After watching Clerks, I finally understood what the fuss was about. I now knew them not only as my uncle and dad, but as Jay and Silent Bob. Now getting their handprints in front of the iconic Chinese theater seems more than deserved and quite honestly overdue. Jay, having you be such a prevalent part of my life has been one of the greatest gifts I could have ever wished for. I have never known anyone who could make me laugh as much as you. You say things sometimes that will literally make me laugh for days to come, and you are the craziest person I know in the best possible way. You've also been there for me my entire life, and you've always been someone who I could come to no matter what. Being able to see you become a father over the past 4 years has been absolutely breathtaking. You are, and no offense to my dad, but you are the best dad I have ever seen, and Logan is so lucky to have you. It meant the world to me to play your daughter in Reboot after watching you enter fatherhood in real life. I feel so lucky to have you not only as my uncle, but now as an honorary dad as well. Now, Dad, my real dad. You are probably the most impeccable human I have ever known. I rarely talk about your heart attack because it makes me too upset to speak about, but I feel it's important to mention here. The night of your heart attack, I slept at the hospital on your couch. I was scared shitless, waking up every hour or so to check on you. That was the scariest day of my entire life, and as much as I'd like to forget about it, I do think it's important to remember so that we can compare to where you're at today. You have proven to everyone really just how impressive of a human you are. You came back from your heart attack and completely changed your life. You went vegan, which was not really a choice as much as it was forced upon you by me, but still you completely changed your life, and you are the healthiest you've ever been. Not only did you change your personal life, but you came back and made a movie, which is really the end game of your films. You somehow managed to gather everyone from your past to make a movie you've been on a quest to make for years. You always joke and say that it's your heart attack that made the movie possible because everyone felt guilty enough to come be a part of it, but I don't agree with that. I think it's your strength, tenacity, and perseverance that made this possible. My whole life, you've made a living by essentially making fun of yourself, but you are truly a magical human being, and I hope you know that. You have proven that you can literally do anything that you set your mind to, and you inspire me endlessly. You are my dad, my director, but mostly my best friend. I'm so insanely proud of both of you and am beyond thrilled that you are receiving this honor today. Dad, Jay, I love you more than I can possibly say. Thank you for being the best dads I could ever wish for.
Further ado, and that was so beautiful. From both you, Ben and Harley, please welcome Kevin Smith and Jay Mewes.
Oh my gosh, sorry, I'm like throwing it back there. I can hear, wow, sorry, me and Kevin are both back there crying. Sorry, the sweet things Ben and Harley both said is really amazing. Being here is super surreal for me because, I mean, who would have, like I would never thunk that I'd be able to put my handprints in here. Like Ben said earlier, like I walk by and you see big, huge names here. And so for me to find out when they told me that I was getting my handprints in the cement out here was, I don't know, it's still like floating over, but I don't know. I'm not the wordsmith here, Kevin is, but I do want to say, man, you'll see, it's funny because he talks more than me in real life. And in the movies, you know, I talk. But I do want to say thank you to Ben and Harley. Harley had me crying back there, which wasn't a good start. Because I'm like, how am I going to get out there and say anything sweet? But I do want to thank, you know, I owe this all to Kevin. It's like Kevin saw me, 13-year-old kid, hanging around the community center and said, wow, this kid has a weird sense of humor and says funny things. And when he wrote his script, Clerks, he thought to write me in there. And then he wrote me in the next movie, even though the studio fought him on it and made me audition, he still fought for me. And then put me in the next movie, And it wasn't something I planned on doing was movies because I just thought like, oh, one day I'm gonna own my own roofing business and I'm gonna be somebody. And I don't have like my family history. I've talked about a lot of my podcasts and stuff. And I mention that because like my mom was in and out of jail and I live with my grandma, my aunt and all this. But the reason I mention that is because Kevin not only like put me in a movie and became someone I looked up to, became my friend, but then he let me into his family, which, you know, I got to see Harley be born and his wife Jen. They took me in, and then I got to meet Gail and Byron, who were another extension of my family, and it really helped me stay on course even when I had some troubles with the drugs and stuff. Like he was always there for me, and I really owe everything to Kevin. You know, the movies and just being around because he was always there to help me out and support me. And then my wife, I met my wife, Jordan Monsanto, and she's been a big, strong part of me trying to, you know, stay on the straight and narrow because then we had a kid. Her name's Logan. I wanted to bring her today, but my wife wouldn't let me. I wanted to sneak her handprint in the handprint thing, but anyway, I appreciate everyone for being here, man. This is such a big deal and so surreal to me. If you told me I'd ever get this, I would tell you you were a liar. And it's amazing, and thank you, Kevin, Harley, Ben, Jen, and Gail and Byron, and Jordan, and everyone else. This is awesome. Now I'm gonna let this guy talk.
Get comfy, motherfuckers. First off, I want to thank everybody for showing up today. I really want to thank Ben and Harley for amazingly kind words. Did anybody else notice that we were lucky enough to get both the Batman and Harley Quinn to intro us? Makes a lot of sense in my world. Ladies and gentlemen, to understand what this moment means to me and my family, I got to take you back to the 70s. My father, Don Smith, was a postal employee. And he married this woman, a Jersey girl named Grace, who's here somewhere. There's my mom. My mom's here today. They had 3 kids, Virginia, Donald, and Kevin. I was the last kid. I was born on my brother's birthday, August 2nd. He was born 66, August 2nd. I was born August 2nd, 1970. Interestingly enough, my sister was born on August 10th, like a year before my brother. So we were all born in August, which means my parents really like to fuck in November. Election fuckers. So Don Smith didn't really want for much. I asked him once when I was a kid, hey, what were your dreams when you were young, Dad? What did you want to do? And he was like, I wanted to get married and have kids. And so his dreams happened early on. His career wasn't about what made him feel good in life or fulfilled. He just had to get a job to pay for what made him feel good in life, what made him feel fulfilled. His wife and his kids. And we were, I'd like to say, lower middle class and stuff. But my mom was a financial whiz who could make a buck stretch. And because of that, even though we were poor, we would go on vacations. That was important to my dad because he worked at the post office. And if he didn't go on vacations, he might have went postal and shit. So he never did. We were very proud of him for that. He would go on these vacations and he would take us places that meant something to him. And he took us here in 1979. My family got on a train from New Jersey, me, my mom, my dad, my brother and sister, and came to Hollywood because I loved the movies. I loved TV, I loved the movies, I loved Hollywood when I was growing up. And that was what we shared, me and my father. You know, it was like he told my mom, the fat one likes movies, I'm gonna do movies with him and stuff. So he would take me to the movies all the time and lean into my fascination with the movie business, even though we were the furthest thing in the world from it in New Jersey. So we came here to the Courtyard in 1979 and walked around for an hour looking at all the footprints and the handprints, and naturally there were some that were older than I would remember, and my father would explain who they were, you know. My brother and I knelt in front of R2-D2 and C-3PO and Darth Vader's footprints, and my dad took a picture of us, although my sister says she took the picture, so I don't know if memory's foggy, but I do remember this. My old man, he was not like the chattiest guy in the world and stuff, but every once in a while he would say something that deeply impacted, and since he was my dad, and since all parents are God to a child, everything he said at that age impacted, particularly when we were here in Hollywood. He'd taken us to Hollywood, and here we were standing amongst all the stars and the legends. We took the picture, my old man, as we're going through all the footprints and shit. My old man says 6 stupid fucking words, 6 stupid things that you say to a fucking kid when you're at a baseball field, if they're into baseball or any sports, or if there's some place where they have a vague interest in it and stuff. My old man was looking at the footprints, and he saw me look at the footprints, put my hands in the handprints and stuff, and he said this stupid shit that you just say to a kid, pass the time, nice thing to say. He goes, maybe you'll be here one day. He didn't mean it, he wasn't planning it, he wasn't planting a seed, we had no path to this world whatsoever. It's just some stupid shit that you say to your kid to pass the time. But ladies and gentlemen, you have to be careful of the stupid shit you say to your kids. Sometimes it takes deep root. Because of that, I've been telling my kids since she was a child, you know, one day you'll be a billionaire who'll finance all my movies and shit, just in case it fucking worked like it did on me. The last time me and my mom and my brother and my sister were in this courtyard was with my dad in 1979. It's 40 years from that moment when my father said it. This is what's left of my father, ladies and gentlemen. This is some of his ashes. This is the first time in 40 years my whole family is back together again in this courtyard, and I couldn't imagine a better fucking reason for it. Thank you, Dad. In the way of thanks, let me just keep going. So many people, of course, I thank my dad, I thank my mom, who was always incredibly supportive, and the second biggest Kevin Smith fan on the planet, me being the first. I thank my sister who taught me what writing was. You know, at an early age I found a composition notebook that she had under her bed, and inside there was a drawing of her and her friends around a door. And the cover page was what Secret and Cellar, what was it? Secrets Beyond the Trap Door. And I said, what is this? And she said, I'm writing a book. And I was like, you can't just write a book, you have to ask the government and stuff. And she's like, why do you say that? I was like, because we had to get like a library card to take books out of the library. I was very young. And so she said, you don't need permission from the government to write. Anybody can write anything. You can write anything anytime you want. Anybody's free to write. I spent my life writing. My brother was my absolute first audience. You don't know if you could do something unless you try it, and then somebody says, good job. I wrote a story about going to visit our relatives, remember? And like, scariest thing in the world is like taking a piece of yourself, putting it down, handing it to somebody else and saying, what do you think? And I was a kid, so I needed approval. And I handed it to him because my brother's the best laugher in the world, man. When he laughs at shit, you really feel like you're funny. And he laughed at it, and not at it, but with it. And he said it was good. And I watched him read the words, and like his emotions change, and I felt like a wizard, a magician. Magic words change the emotions in the man's body and stuff like that. That impacted in a big bad way. It gave me something to chase like a dragon for my whole life. I want to thank everyone I ever worked with, like Ben and Harley, of course, recently. All the actors I've ever worked with. Brian O'Halloran is here. Marilyn is here. The people that absolutely dreamed with me and made it all possible, brought words to life and whatnot. I thank Byron and Gail, Jen's parents, who have always been there for me. Of course, I thank my wife who brought me out here. I didn't want to leave New Jersey. And she said, there's a better way to live. And we came out here, we've been out here for almost 20 years, and that means everything, because this is the only other place than New Jersey that I ever wanted to be, that I ever wanted to live, was in Hollywood. She gave me a beautiful daughter who I now make movies with. Harley makes the job fun again. I was never losing interest, but suddenly my kid was interested in movies. I'm like, I know a thing or two about movies. Like, don't listen to the critics. I do. And suddenly I was able to start working with her as a professional. So I thank her for giving me like a second chance, not just by making me vegan and whatnot. Used to be happy, now I'm fucking vegan. But she saved my life, you know, in doing so. I want to thank Ely and Lisa for letting us do this. Wonderful people who we met in San Diego. We put our hands in the cement, and I told him what it meant to me, and he was like, we could do that here. And I was like, what? Like, suddenly I was going to be amongst people I've looked up to my whole life, other Hollywood legends. Thank you so much for that. Thank you to all the people who are working on Jay and Silent Bob reboot right now, Saban Films, Universal, Rob, my publicist, Rogers and Cowan, everybody who's trying to help out right now. Movie comes out this week. We're very excited. Big thanks go out to Jordan Monsanto, Jason's good lady wife. For the last 10 years, Jason and I have been saying things to Jordan like, we want to do this, we want to do that, we would like to do this, and Jordan always finds a way to facilitate it, man. We're all just idea people, unless you find somebody who can make manifest your dreams. I'm just a dreamer. I need somebody to make the dreams a reality. Jordan made Jay and Silent Bob reboot a reality for us, man. So without her, this doesn't happen. Thank you, Jordan. And lastly, I want to turn this out to the audience. Number one, thank you for paying attention for the last 25 years. It has meant the world. Obviously, I need a lot of validation, and you've been giving me that in like crazy. I just want to tell you that this is doable. You could do this. I'm not very special. I just took a chance and said some shit about myself. I self-expressed. And if you look at this world and you're remotely like, I love the movie business and stuff like that, come join us. Hollywood is a magical place. It sounds ridiculous to say, but it really is in many ways a great equalizer. bringing all sorts of diversity together in the pursuit of the dream, of telling the story, of capturing an imagination, of making people forget for one day, for one moment, like their troubles, or that, you know, one day they're going to die and stuff. It's a great business, and Hollywood is a great town, a magical town. And when I was a kid, I believed that, and I've lived here for almost 20 years, and I still absolutely believe that. I believe in Hollywood as the land of hope and dreams, man, and I can't get out of here without quoting a poet who means the world to me. He's also from New Jersey. His name is Bruce Springsteen, and he wrote a song called Land of Hope and Dreams, man. This, I think it really applies to our town and our business. The refrain chorus goes, "This train," which refers to this town, "this train carries saints and sinners. This train carries losers and winners. This train carries whores and gamblers. This train carries lost souls. This train carries broken-hearted thieves and sweet souls departed. This train carries fools and carries kings. This train, all aboard. This train, dreams will not be thwarted. This train, faith will be rewarded. Meet me in a land of hope and dreams." Ladies and gentlemen, we're in the land of hope and dreams. And thank you for letting me hang out with you this long. I love you all.
Fellas, look up while you sign.
Up in the middle, fellas, look up in the middle. To be honest, it's hard.
No pressure.
Multitask. That's what it is.
Jason.
It's gonna dry.
Hey! I hope you guys in the center, right in the center, fellas.
And just to the side, if you would. Right side, fellas.
And right above the middle, guys. Coming back. To your left, Look up, fellas. Yeah, one more time.
And to your right, to your right. That's it. Sweep across.
Guys.
Sorry, buddy. Is there any way we can, well, just because I might have my best stuff. Just like,
Control Alt Delete. Six miles, right side, right side.
Hey guys, right in the center, right in the center. Push up.
Right side, fellas, right side. Look up, look up, look up. 6 mile, right side, right side. The other right.
You're gonna do that. Yeah.
Left. Show us together. Get close. Right side, fellas. Congratulations, dirty hand. Right side, guys. Patty cake, patty cake. Give it a hand. Ta-da! Almost.
All right, look up in the center, fellas. In the center.
And one time to the right, fellas. There you go.
Right in the center. Right in the center, fellas. In the center. Guys, right here.
On cue. People gotta talk.
Oh my God. Yes. If I'm too listy, just let me go.
Today is 10, 14, 19.
It goes under our handprints?
Yep, go right under your handprints.
One more smile, fellas. I want that.
Yeah.
Get over close in the middle a little bit.
There you go. Come on
Right in
close.
the center, fellas. Right in the center.
Guys. Guys. And the other left. Give us one.
And both you guys give Ben a kiss.
Aww.
Right in the center, please. Look up, look up.
See the short folks up front.
Okay, that's everyone. This is everyone.
Pull out the other side.
Short people up front.
There we go.
Thank you, everybody. Mike, I don't got
That was very good.